Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we'll be completing in today's video, this fun bookshop drawing. Lots of fun shapes and everything to get where we're going, lots of fun texture at the end, lots of just fun all around. We use a custom kind of square brush to make our bricks and our books and stuff. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and check that out. It's linked in the description below. I have lots of fun exclusive tutorials available over there, so that you can do some more Procreate drawing and learning. But before we get started with today's video, all you need to do is download the color palette and the custom brush. They're linked in the description below. They're totally free to download. For the color palette, just save it to your iPad and then either double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically import the color palette into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. And then for the custom brush, you just need to be in your brush library, pick a folder that you want to save it into, and then click the plus icon in the top right, and then click import. And again, find the brush file wherever you saved it onto your iPad, and it will import it there. It is the square brush. Otherwise, the font and the rest of the brushes are all standard Procreate stuff, so nothing else to download. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. It looks like there'd be a lot of layers, but we snap a lot together as we go, so you should not have any issues with the layer limits on your iPad. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today. So we use every single color on here. Let's just go ahead and get started on this pretty long one today. So we're first going to make our background. It's going to be a slight gradient that's a little darker at the top, a little lighter at the bottom with these first two colors on our first row. So we'll just be on layer 1. We'll grab our first color on the first row and we'll drag and drop it onto our canvas to fill in the whole thing. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and on the same layer, I'm just going to grab my second color on the top row and grab my selection tool with a rectangle and color fill turned on. I'm going to start at the bottom left outside my canvas, draw up across till I get maybe halfway, and then let that go. Then to get our gradient from top to bottom, we'll just blur it. So we'll click our selection tool to turn that off, click our wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll drag up on our screen here a good ways to like maybe 50% to get a nice gradient from top to bottom. Okay, so that's it for our background. Now we can go ahead and get started on the rest of it. I think the next thing that we'll do is make the ground that our bookshop will sit on, and then we'll make the bookshop itself. Let's go to our layer menu and add a new layer for our ground. Let's grab the next color in line, third one on the top row, and our selection tool again, rectangle and color fill still turned on. I'm going to start on the bottom left here, and I'm going to just create a good rectangle going across the bottom, like maybe 1/5 of the canvas, nothing too crazy, and then let that go to fill that in. If you need to resize it at all, you can with your arrow tool on either freeform or uniform to like increase or decrease the height of it, but again, pretty small. We want a good amount of room up top for everything else. Okay. Now to create our sidewalk, we'll go to our layer menu. We'll make a duplicate of this rectangle layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Let's grab our next color in line, fourth one on the top row, and drag and drop to fill in this rectangle. Grab it with our arrow tool on freeform, and we'll drag it up a good ways, just a little bit, maybe about like, so it takes up like the top 2/3 of this rectangular area, something like that. Then we'll make like the depth of it, so like the front edge of it that we'll see. So on our layer menu, let's make another duplicate of this rectangle. So slide to the left and hit duplicate on this top one now. Grab the bottom one here that popped up. Grab our next color in line, 5th one on the top row, and drag and drop to fill that in. You won't see it fill in because it's below our lighter one, but on your layer menu, you'll see it's darker, and then we'll just grab it with our arrow tool. Make sure snapping is turned on in the bottom left so that when we move it's straight down, or you can stretch it straight down on freeform too, either way works. But that way when we move it, it stays centered. Okay, so now we should have something kind of like this. So now let's make the details on our sidewalk on the top here. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer to the very top of our layers above our light colored rectangle. Okay, and we are first just going to draw some straight lines, then we'll adjust them to make them look like they're at the angle that we're looking at it from, so more straight on. So to do that, we'll grab the third color on the top row again. Make sure we're on our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. We'll set it to about 30%, and then we're going to turn on a drawing guide to help us. So under the gear icon, under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide. Click edit drawing guide, and we do want it set to the 2D grid. You can leave everything else alone, and then we'll turn on assisted drawing. And then go ahead and click done. So assisted drawing means that once we start drawing, it will follow the vertical and horizontal lines on our grid. So your new layer should say assisted on it. If it doesn't, click on it and turn on drawing assist so we can use the 2D grid feature, and we'll just start drawing our lines. So I'm just going to start maybe in like 2 here, 2 squares on the right side. I'll draw a good line from top to bottom, starting up a ways off my sidewalk. Then we'll just space them evenly. So maybe I'll do like every 4 or so. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. 4. 4 and 4. Okay, now we need to, stretch them and change the perspective and stuff. So let's first, on our layer menu, click on this layer and clip it to our layer below it. So set it to a clipping mask right there. And now we'll only see what's on our lighter rectangle that we have. So now with our arrow tool, okay, and then what we want to do is switch it to distort. And I'm going to zoom out a little ways. And then I'm going to drag the bottom corners out to the side. So I'll start with the bottom right one. I'll drag it straight out. Again, make sure snapping is turned on in the bottom left so that we can continue to snap this like bottom line to the bottom of our canvas so that it stays horizontal. So I'll drag that out a ways. I'll do the other side. I'll drag that out a ways. Trying to keep it pretty even if I can, just by like looking at how far away they are from my canvas or something. Okay. Once you get a good size going, you can click your arrow tool to turn it off, and then you can just pick it right back up. So grab it again and stretch it again. So we want it pretty far out here. Okay, so maybe something kind of like this is good. Then let's add some texture to our sidewalk as well. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask again, so we're only drawing within this top rectangle. Same color, we're just going to switch our brush to the Flicks brush under the spray paints category. Set the size of that to about 30% as well. And I am just going to kind of just tap everywhere to kind of splatter this on the sidewalk. Again, I'm going to go up a good ways because then I'm going to flatten it. So even though it's clipped, I am tapping up in the sky here a little bit as well. So something kind of like that. And then again, we'll do some like distorting to it. So arrow tool on freeform first, we're going to squish it from top to bottom. We didn't have to do this with our lines because they were like just vertical lines. But this one, we want to kind of squish the pattern from top to bottom so it looks like we're looking at it at that angle. So I'll just drag it down a little bit like so. Okay, I'm then going to switch to distort and drag these corners out a little bit just so the pattern also kind of matches that like angle that we have on our lines. Again, always snapping it to the bottom there and kind of trying to do roughly the same amount on each side like so. But it doesn't have to be too crazy. I'll just do it the one time. Then my splatter's got a little too dark, so I'm going to go to my layer menu, click the N on this layer, and just drag the opacity down a little bit, maybe to like 70% or so. And then that is it for our sidewalk and stuff. Okay, and then just because our perspective is so important, now that we have our grid on, so my grid is set to, if I go into edit the drawing guide, is set to 95 pixels, the exact same size that it started at. So that is what I have mine set to. And I have my sidewalk going up 8 squares. So the top of my sidewalk is at 8 squares from the bottom. And I actually want it to be 6. So I went back to my original picture and it was at 6. So I think that's very important to keep it the same. Everything looks good here, so I'm going to snap this all together. So aside from my background gradient layer, but every rectangle and the splatters and everything, let's snap those together if you're happy with them. Grab it with your arrow tool, set it to freeform, and then just adjust it up or down until we hit the 6 squares. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down the side. So I think it's very important to get that right so that everything else falls into place. So that being said, that is good for that. Let's go ahead and start building our bookstore. So we're going to leave the grid on for now. And let's go ahead and just add a new layer above our layer 1 here. So we're underneath our sidewalk. Okay, let's grab our base for our building, the first color on the second row of the color palette. Grab our selection tool, rectangle and color fill turned on. And I'm just going to start kind of towards the, sidewalk here a little bit below it so that it's kind of cut off by the sidewalk. A little to the left, I'll draw all the way up until we're almost at the top of the canvas. We want to be pretty high up here, and then I'll let that go to fill it in. Grab it with my arrow tool, and now we can adjust it. So I do want it to be a little bit wider, so on freeform I'm just going to widen it a little bit. And then make sure snapping's turned on in the bottom left, and most importantly we want to center this on our center vertical yellow line so that we're directly in the center of our canvas from left to right. Again, just a smidge of room at the top there. We want a little bit of room on the sides for our bushes and our light posts, but nothing too crazy. I think this looks pretty good. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 showing on the left and right side, and then I'm just going to do just 2 at the top. So 2 there. So again, we're centered, looking good. Now let's go ahead and start doing our bricks and the bottom section. So it's going to be red on the top, kind of cream colored on the bottom where our bookshop is. So on our layer menu, let's click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. Grab our cream color, the third color on the second row, and our selection tool again. And again, we don't have to be so specific, but I am going to be kind of specific that we are going to cover the last 9 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares with this cream color across the bottom. So I'm going to start right there, draw all the way across to just cover that whole bottom section. Let that go to fill it in. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and now we can start doing our brick. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer right above this one. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask, just so we're on a new layer, but we're still clipped to this shape. So we'll add darker red up here and then a darker cream down here. And again, to let our grid help us, we are first going to change our grid size. So go to the gear icon under Canvas, click to edit the drawing guide, and we're going to change our grid size to 70 pixels, and then click done. If you want to like lower the thickness of your lines, go ahead and do so, or adjust them so you can see pretty well. Okay. Then we'll go to this layer on our layer menu, click on it and turn on drawing assist so that we can use it to make our like horizontal lines. And then let's grab our first color. So the second one on the second row, the darker one for our upper section. And find our special brush that you should have downloaded wherever you saved it, the square brush. Set the size of the brush to 15%. And we're going to start on the edges. We're going to do a very specific pattern there, and then we'll just kind of do some loose ones in the middle. But I'm going to zoom in on the left side here, and this is what we will do. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to start outside of my shape, kind of in the middle of the 2 grid lines, like from top to bottom. And then I'm going to draw straight horizontally till I hit the second line. So there's 2 there. Then the next one, I'll start again kind of in the middle of my lines from top to bottom. I'll draw starting from the outside and hit the first line, then leave a small space and draw until I hit the third line. So then I have 1, 2, 3 covered. Okay, then again, I'll leave a space. I'll hit just 2. Then I'll hit 1, leave a space and hit 3. So we'll do that all the way down. So it's a little bit of a tedious process. Always trying to hit that like middle point of like our top and bottom lines as close as you can anyway. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just do the 2 and then the 1 to the 3. But I don't know, I think this is kind of fun. I think it's really relaxing to just take your time and make fun patterns like this. So just keep on going. And again, it does not have to be too perfect. I'm going pretty quick now that I have it down. They're not all perfectly spaced. That's okay. When I get to this area where they're about to meet, I'll just leave a space there. So we'll cover the middle section where they meet with like a big border piece. So I'll just stop right there, or stop wherever you wish to, but we'll cover that part up. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, starting at that same point at the top. So top one, I'll go in 2. The next one, I'll do the 1 to the 3. Okay, so then once we're done with that on both sides, we'll just again kind of make some just loose ones in the middle. So I'm just going to go through and just do some little sections where each time I'll again, as best as you can, try to hit like the middle top to bottom thing again. So we're not like going over lines, we're still within our lines, and I'll just do like 2 squares at a time for each one. And then I'll just do kind of like little sections. So maybe something like that. Then I'll move over. I'll do another little section, just always doing 2. Maybe I'll do like 5 this time. Maybe I'll go down here and just do like 3 together or something. Maybe just a random one here, something like this. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. But maybe something like that is good for the top. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the cream colored one now. So same layer, we're just going to switch our color to the 4th one on the second row. And again, do our same pattern. So I'm going to start on the left edge. Again, I'm just skipping this kind of middle where they come together, and I'll just start on my next like open line. I'll do my 2, and then my 1 to my 3, my 2, my 1 to my 3, and so on. And I'll just go through the bottom, I guess, of my piece as well. That's fine. So my last one was right where my sidewalk is now, since we adjusted our size, so that's fine. I will just make one down there. Same thing here. I'll start on the same spot. And then again, I'll do some just in the middle. So again, 2 at a time, still trying to kind of center between my top and bottom lines. Just kind of in little sections, little groups. Maybe something like that, and then I will call this done. Awesome, let's go ahead and just keep on going. I'm going to make the top and bottom rectangle now to kind of separate them and bring the rest of the building together. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer on top of the one that we were just on. Grab our next color in line, 5th one on the second row. Grab our selection tool again, rectangle and color fill turned on. And I'm just going to start. Again, it doesn't have to be this precise, but if you want to be, I'm going to start 1 square up from the corner, so up and to the left, and draw a cross down, covering like 2 squares, and then again 1 square on the right side out as well. something kind of like that. You can grab it with your arrow tool, you can resize it, and then most importantly, center it from left to right on our yellow line again at the top there. Then let's make a duplicate of this layer. So on our layer menu, slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab it with our arrow tool and let's just move it straight down, and we'll place this one in the center of these other pieces. So between our two colors, again, centered on our yellow line, or as close as we can get to it. So on our layer menu, we can go ahead and snap these two layers together. So snap them together just on our layer menu there, they're good to go. While we're here, let's go ahead and add a shadow underneath them. So let's add a new layer above our previous clipping mask here. Add a layer there, click on it, set it to a clipping mask also so we're clipped to our building layer. Click the N on this layer and let's drag the layer style up to multiply. Let's click on it and turn on drawing assist as well so we can get a nice horizontal shadow line. The color that we'll use for this is going to be the fourth color on the second row, the one that we were just on to make our darker bricks. Okay, well, let's grab our brush. We are going to switch to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. We'll have our size set pretty low to like 3% or so. And I'm first going to make one under this one up here. So I'm going to start outside of my shape just right at the bottom of this rectangle and just go across maybe a couple times without picking my brush up to create a nice shadow there. And again, it just follows our horizontal line. And then I'll do the same thing down here. Nice horizontal line without picking my brush up. Okay, and then that's our shadow. So now let's go ahead and make our windows. So I'm going to make one window, we'll duplicate it to make the rest, and then we'll make the shadows for them. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer just above the one that we're on right now. Okay, no clipping mask or anything. Let's grab our first window color, which is going to be the sixth one on the second row. Grab our selection tool again. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to start in this upper left hand corner somewhere. We can resize everything, but I want to start and make a good size window. So I'm going to start here, maybe make a window. We want to do 3 rows, so maybe about like this to start. We'll see how that goes. So I want 3 rows and then I want 4 across. Okay, so we'll start with this. On our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this layer. So slide to left and hit duplicate. Our top one here, let's fill it in with our bluish color. The next one in line, 7th one on the second row. And fill this in, so drag and drop to fill it in. Grab it with our arrow tool on freehand, and I'm just going to go around and kind of add a little like trim to it. So essentially just go in all the way around, just make it a little smaller, and then recenter it. So drag it around until you get these like blue lines that center them together. Make sure it looks pretty even all the way around our white color, like so. Then let's go to our layer menu. Let's add another new layer. Let's grab our third color on the second row, selection tool again. We're going to make like a windowsill on the outside. So I'm going to start right at the bottom here, and I'm just going to make it a little bit wider on the sides, and then, just a good size rectangle there across the bottom. Grab it with my arrow tool, center it there with it, so where that blue line is. Resize it if you need to, but just something kind of like this now. Okay, now we're going to add the window panes. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer above our blue layer now. Grab our whitish color, again, the 6th one on the second row, and let's just, again, grab our selection tool, rectangle and color fill turned on, and maybe a third of the way down, I'm just going to make a nice skinny horizontal rectangle that goes from left to right, meeting our white on both sides. Center it if you need to. Move it around if you need to. Then on our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of that rectangle. So slide to left and hit duplicate. Grab it with our arrow tool and move it straight down, cutting it into thirds again across the bottom. So we should have like kind of 3 different sections, pretty evenly sized. So move them around if you need to. Okay, we're going to pretend our sun's like coming from the top left. We're not going to do a ton of shadows today, but just some. So we want a slight shadow on the inside of our window, all on like the bottom and right sides of these sections, and then nothing over here where it falls off until we do our main shadow, if that makes sense. So we're going to do a little magic here. So I don't want to have to like duplicate this one, make it darker, move it, duplicate this one, make it darker, move it. How would I even do it on this one? Because we'd have to like draw it over our blue. We don't want to do that. What we need is one shape with our white outline, but it's not an outline. Our back one is a full rectangle. So what we'll do is we are going to go to our blue rectangle. Click on that layer and click Select, turn off Color Fill. So you should see just diagonal lines everywhere outside of it. Go back to our layer menu and just switch to our white rectangle layer. Don't do anything else. You should still see your diagonal lines. And then grab your arrow tool and it will select that section and we'll just drag it up off the screen. Click our arrow tool again and it has now disappeared. So now we have a white outline. Okay, we're going to drag our white outline up one layer so it's right above our blue one. And then we're going to snap it together with our two skinny white horizontal rectangles so we have kind of our whole frame. So we have our blue one, our frame, and then our windowsill. Let's go back to our blue layer. I'm going to make it just a teeny bit bigger all the way around because you might have a slight gap where our selection hit. So arrow tool, I'm just going to increase the size on each corner so it really just covers it up nicely. So everything should look really nice now. Okay, so now to get that shadow, we are going to make a duplicate of this frame layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate, grab the bottom one. Let's click on it and turn on alpha lock. Grab our fourth color on the second row, back to our layer menu, click on this layer and click fill layer. Okay, click the N on this layer and set it to multiply, and then grab it with your arrow tool and move it down and to the right a little bit so we get that shadow inside. Now, we don't want this shadow on the outside, so what we need to do is click on this layer on our layer menu and set it to a clipping mask so it only clips to our blue layer. So now that little bit that was outside is gone. We just want the shadow on the inside. We'll do a full shadow for the outside of it later. Okay, looking good. Now let's just finish off our window. We just need a little shadow inside, a few streaks to make it look like glass. So on our layer menu, let's just click on this blue layer and turn on alpha lock. Grab our next color next to that one, the eighth one on the second row, slightly darker than our base color was. And grab our soft brush still under the airbrushing category, set to pretty low, still 3% or so. And I'm just going to add a shadow kind of on the bottom right side, very, very lightly. Nothing too crazy, just kind of little curvy, nice shadow. Same layer. We're going to grab our next color in line, ninth one on the second row, same soft brush. Let's keep our size pretty low, 3 to 4%. And I'm first going to just hold really steady pressure and make a fun diagonal line, go over it a couple times, hold it down till it snaps to a perfectly straight line, and then touch your finger on the screen and set it to this angle here. So we are 2 up from horizontal. So this is horizontal, go up 1, 2. This is the angle that we'll hit. Okay, let's lower our brush size really, really far to low 2%, really skinny. And we'll just do one more of that. So I'll do steady pressure again, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to find that same angle. You can move it around if you need to, but maybe something like this is good. So that just makes it look like glass. Okay, once that's done and you like the way that looks, that is it for our window. So now we're going to snap all these layers together and then we'll start making duplicates. We'll resize it if we need to. So we should have our glass layer, our window pane shadow, our window pane, and the windowsill. So those 4 layers, let's snap those together. One window here. Okay. Again, I want 3 rows. So let's first see if we can even fit that. I'm guessing no, but yours might be different. So I can already just tell that there just won't be room. This is where I want my first one to be roughly. And if we did 2 more, it just wouldn't quite work. So either on freeform or uniform, I'm probably going to do uniform. I'm just going to downsize it a little bit. So do that if you need to. Okay, back to our layer menu. Let's slide to the left and make a duplicate of it. Grab it with our arrow tool and drag it straight down, keeping it in line. So with snapping turned on, you should see 3 blue lines that kind of line it up together. Okay, I'll leave a little space there. And then again, I still don't think I'm going to have room for another one quite, so I'm going to delete my duplicate and go back to my original one. Arrow tool again, I'm just going to downsize it a little bit more. Okay, another duplicate, arrow tool straight down, and then this should be good. So now we have a good space. I'm going to make another duplicate. Again, go straight down. Okay, close enough. I'm going to space them out as evenly as I can. They're pretty good. They're the teeniest bit too big, but they're spaced out nicely. So what I'm going to do now that I have 3 of them is I'm going to select one, slide right on the other 2, grab it with my arrow tool on uniform, and now I can just downsize them together. So that looks good. So I think that's good. We want a good space around all of them. Space them out again if you need to, like kind of respace them, keeping them in line so the spaces are kind of even. Something like that. And then once you have a good spacing and you have a little bit of room all the way around, we can snap these 3 together. So on our layer menu, we'll snap all 3 of them together. Make a duplicate of this now. Grab it with our arrow tool and slide it straight to the right. Again, keeping it in line where we see like some sort of blue lines. Okay, so now I should just be kind of close to what looks like the halfway mark. I'll probably leave that spacing and then I'll go and make another duplicate of this one. Arrow tool, move it to the right again. Try to leave the spacing kind of the same. Make another duplicate, spacing kind of the same, keeping it in line. Now, if you end up like further to the right or further to left, you can change your spacing, or like mine are spaced pretty evenly, but I have just a little bit more room on the right maybe. So I'm just going to go to my layer menu, select all of them, grab them with my arrow tool, and you can move them all at once. So you can do something like that. I also just want mine maybe a little closer together, so I might just go back, move them a little bit closer, and then I'll move the whole thing again. So that's another thing we can do. Just move them all closer, similar spacing, grab them all, arrow tool, move it over. Okay, so just kind of centering it there as best as I can on my upper area here till I like the way that looks. Okay, so those are all of my windows. Those look great. So mess around with that as much as you need to. They do not have to be completely perfect. Your spacing can be a little off. That's okay. We just want them to look pretty uniform. Now we want a shadow behind all of these. So on our layer menu, we're going to snap these all together. So all on one layer, all of our windows. Make a duplicate of the layer. Click the bottom one. Make sure alpha lock is turned on. It should be, it might not be, but make sure it's on. Grab our 4th color on the 2nd row again. Back to our layer menu, click on this layer, click fill layer. Click the N on this layer, drag it up to multiply. Click it again, turn off alpha lock. Okay, we have our multiply layer filled in, alpha lock's off now. Grab it with our arrow tool and we're going to move it down and to the right to create a little shadow there, like so. We are going to darken it up a bit in a second, but we're first going to make some adjustments to it. So the reason we turned off alpha lock is so that we can connect the corners and so that we can blur the shadow. So let's switch our brush back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. So find that. Set our size pretty low to like 10%. And I'm going to go through and connect all of the corners. So where we displaced our shadow, there's just a little gap here where our corner is. So like I want to fill this in with like a straight line connecting it and then fill it in. Straight line connecting this. Straight line connecting that, fill it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. We are going to blur it, so you don't have to get too crazy. I'm not even holding my pen down, just kind of connecting each corner for each one. And we would have done this for one window and then duplicated it, but we couldn't flatten it that way because when you flatten with like a multiply layer, the whole thing turns into a multiply layer and then it messes up all the pretty stuff we made. So we had to do a separate multiply layer behind for our shadow. We have the multiply layer inside and that doesn't mess it up because it's only affecting our shape. But when it's like affecting the outside of our shape, it messes it up when we flatten it. So we'll do this for all of them. Again, nothing too crazy. Don't, spend too much time on it. Okay. Once it's all connected, we'll blur it. So wand icon, Gaussian blur, and just the teeniest little bit, like 2 to 3%, somewhere in there, just the teeniest little bit so the edges are a little bit blurred. Then to make it darker, we'll just go to our layer menu and make a duplicate of our multiply layer. So slide to left and hit duplicate, and now we have some nice dark shadows to make our windows really pop. Okay, now I'm going to snap those 2 multiply layers together in the background. So now we're just kind of saving some layers as we go. But now that's it for all of our windows. That looks amazing. So That is a big step out of the way. They look great, nice and shiny and glassy. So next up is our bottom section with our bookshop stuff. So we'll do a door in the middle, we'll do some bookcases on the right and left side, we'll do the sign with our bookshop text on it, and then that will be it for the bottom. So that's going to be fun. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to zoom in down here, and we are first going to start with our door in the middle. So on our layer menu, let's just add a new layer above the windows we were working on. We can just be right here, that's fine. Let's grab our door colors, which are going to be these last three on the last row. So I'll start with this first of our teal colors. So the 8th one on the last row. Grab our selection tool again, rectangle, turn on color fill. Imagine that. I'm going to leave a few squares for my sign at the top, so at least like 2, maybe 2.5, even like under our shadow. It's like 1, 2, maybe 2.5. I'll start there and make a good sized rectangle like so. Let that fill in. Okay, I'm way off center, so I'm just going to grab it with my arrow tool, center it on my center yellow line or somewhere close to it. You might not see your center yellow line as much anymore. You might have a blue line instead just because of all the other stuff it's trying to center with. But somewhere in the center like so is good. So I have like 2 full squares under my shadow is all, and then my door covers the rest of it, and then across it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish squares across. Maybe not even quite that, maybe like 5.5 or so. But again, centered on our center yellow line or wherever you can get close to it. Okay, so that's the start of my little doorway. So on our layer menu, let's just make a duplicate of this rectangle, slide to left and hit duplicate, be on the top one, and let's grab our darkest color now to fill in. So last one on the last row, drag and drop to fill it in, grab it with our arrow tool on freeform, and I'm just going to downsize it a good amount, recenter it, and then keep on doing that until we get kind of a good little like trim all the way around, pretty thick this time. So maybe something kind of like this. Make sure to kind of center it as best you can. But that looks good. Then layer menu, make a duplicate of this new layer. Be on the top one, grab our lighter color now, the 9th one on the last row, and drag and drop to fill that in. Grab it with our arrow tool, and again on freeform, we'll just downsize all the way in. We'll do a thinner trim this time with the dark color, so maybe more something like this. So just get it there, center it there. So now we should have this. Okay, now on our door, let's make our glass. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer. Let's grab our window colors again, the same ones that we used above. So let's grab our 6th one on the 2nd row. Selection tool again, rectangle and color filter on. I'm going to start a little ways from the corner and drag across, make kind of like a squarish shape, like so. Let that fill in. If you need to move it around or resize it, go ahead and do so. Make sure it's centered and kind of even on the top, right, and left sides. Okay, on this layer now, let's add our shadow and streaks like we did before. So click on this layer and turn on Alpha Lock. Grab our darker color right next to it, 8th one on the 2nd row, and be on our soft brush under the airbrushing category, pretty low at like 2 to 3%. And again, we're just going to add a little shadow to the bottom and right side, like so, nothing too crazy. Then we'll add our streaks. So same layer, we're just going to switch our color to the 9th one on the 2nd row. Same brush, again, like 2 to 3%. I'll do, again, really steady pressure, get a nice streak, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, and find that same angle, 2 from horizontal. So horizontal, up 1, 2. Okay, lower our brush a little bit so we can get a skinnier one. Hold it down, same angle. If you need to move them around, do so. Otherwise, that's it for our window part. So let's go ahead and now make our doorknob. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. Let's grab our bright yellow color, the first one on the last row. And we're going to switch to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Let's set our size to like 70%, 80%, somewhere in there. And just right on the lower right side of the window, I'm just going to tap to make a door handle there. We'll lower our size a little bit more to like maybe 50% or 60%. I'll do 60. And then we'll make a little piece right under it, a little vertical line. So just right under that, I'll do a nice vertical line, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Click the line button at the top if you need to move it, and just kind of line it up there underneath it like so. So then this is our door handle. Okay, we'll add a few more little decorative pieces to it now. So we can just stay on this same layer, and we're going to grab our kind of medium teal color, the 8th one on the last row. Same monoline brush, but let's drop our size to like 10%. Okay, so first let's make a little rectangle across the bottom. So just kind of in whatever open space you have here, I'm going to start on the right side, right underneath my door handle. I'm going to make a vertical line, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And then I'm going to lift up, start at that point, go across the bottom, hold it down, touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal, and try to just leave a similar space as we have on the right side here. Then let's start on the top side here, do the same thing across horizontally, hold it down, touch your finger on the screen, try to kind of line it up so that we can connect it with a vertical line here. So then vertical line, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Click the line button at the top if you ever need to adjust them so that we kind of get a nice shape filled in like so. Then just a few more little details. Right next to my door handle here, I'm just going to make 3 more lines. So I'll just make one here, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. I'll make one on the edge, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, try to make them like the same height. Then I'll make one in the middle of those, roughly. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen, same height and everything. Move it around though if you need to. So just kind of something like that just to finish off our door and make it a little fancier. That is it for the door. Now we can move on to our bookshelves. So we'll make one and then we'll duplicate it for the other one. We're going to do a similar thing here. We'll set up some squares and stuff, make a window, put the books in it. So on our layer menu though now, the door's done. So we can snap all these door layers together. So the one with the handles all the way down to like our back teal layer. Add a new layer above that. Okay, let's get started. Let's grab our first color on this last row of the color palette. Grab our selection tool again, rectangle and color fill turned on. I'm going to just start maybe like, a square or two or a half a square away from my door. Start kind of at that same point at the top. Make a good rectangle, leaving a little space on the right side as well, down below our sidewalk. Arrow tool, move it around if you need to. I'm just going to kind of recenter it. Again, line it up with the top of the door as best as you can. Something like this to start. Let's go ahead and add our window. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer. Grab our window color, the 7th one on the second row. Selection tool again, rectangle and color fill turned on. I'm going to go in a good ways and start this kind of square again. So maybe about here, I'll do like to the same distance on the other side. Pretty much just a good square. Maybe a little bigger than this. So I'm going to grab with my arrow tool, just kind of stretch it out a little bit and kind of center it. But again, leaving a little bit of room on the bottom. So maybe about like this is good. Okay, so now we'll do everything inside the window. So we're going to do a similar thing that we did before, except for our streaks are going to have to be on top of our books. So we'll do a slightly different thing than we did before for that. But let's first make our little shadow on this layer. So click on it and turn on alpha lock, grab our kind of shadowy color for the next one in line, 8th one on the second row. Soft brush again under the airbrushing category, up our size a little bit to like maybe 4 or 5%. And again, we'll do like a little shadow on the bottom and right side, like so. Okay, now we can make our bookshelves. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer above this one. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask. Grab our brown color on the bottom here, the first one of the 2, the 6th one on the last row. Selection tool, rectangle and color fill turned on. I'm going to go down about a third, make a little rectangle all the way across, like so. Okay, now we want to make it look slightly 3D. So on our layer menu, make a duplicate of this rectangle layer. Grab the bottom one. Grab our darker color right next to it, 7th one on the last row, and drag and drop to fill it in. You won't see it because it's behind this one, but grab it with your arrow tool and we are just going to move it down just slightly so it pokes out at the bottom there just a little bit. So we just have a little teeny bit of depth. On our layer menu, we'll just snap those 2 layers together. So they're still clipped to our blue layer. Now we'll just make a duplicate of this so we have 2 shelves to work with, and then we'll also have books like across the bottom. So slide to the left and hit duplicate, grab the bottom one, arrow tool, and we'll move it straight down, kind of splitting this into like thirds. So I might have to move my other one up a little bit to kind of space them a little bit more evenly, like so. So something kind of like that. Now we'll make our books. So on our layer menu, we're actually going to go back to our square layer, add a layer right above that. So it'll automatically set itself to a clipping mask, and we're below our 2 shelf layers, which is where we want to be. Click on this layer and turn on Drawing Assist so we can use our straight up and down lines. And we're going to switch our brush back to our fancy custom square brush that you should have downloaded that we used earlier for our bricks. We'll set that to maybe 10%. Okay, and now we'll just do a few different book colors. So all of our book colors are essentially like these 4 I did. So the pink, the blue, the white, and then the one above the white, which is like this kind of brownish color. Or you can use any other colors that you want, really, just kind of whatever you feel like. So I'm just going to start with the peachy color, the 3rd one on the bottom row. So essentially all I'm going to do is make a bunch of different book spines. So working vertically, I'm just going to start at the shelf and go up, and then I'll leave a space, go up again. Maybe I'll just jump to the next one, make a couple of those. They can all be like similar heights. You can make shorter ones if you want to, but I don't feel like there's a ton of room to make many shorter ones. So just do a few of those. I'll switch to my next color, the blue one, 4th one on the bottom row. Do the same thing. So I'll put some right next to those, some kind of by themselves, just kind of filling in spaces. Okay, I'll switch to my next color, 5th one on the bottom row, same thing. We'll fill in some spaces, kind of like this. Okay, last color that I'm going to use is the 5th one on the 2nd row, kind of more of a brownish color. And then we'll just add some of those as well, kind of in whatever spaces you can. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy, and then you can go back in with other colors if you want to, or you can leave some spaces. I like leaving some spaces also, but feel free to fill them in for the most part or do whatever you want to do, but just a good variety of books like that is good. That's all there is to it. So now let's add the streaks to our window. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu. We'll add a layer above both of our shelf layers. So right there, click on it, set it to a clipping mask. Click the N and set this layer style to overlay. Okay, grab this bright blue color that we've been using anyway, this 9th one on the 2nd row, and switch back to our soft brush under the airbrushing category again. Same thing, we'll start kind of bigger, like 3 to 4%. I'll make a good streak, so apply heavy pressure, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen and set it to this 2 from horizontal. Okay, I'll lower my size a bit. Make another one. Hold it down, touch my finger to the screen. If you want, you can make another like a really tiny one. Since these windows are so big, I'll maybe do one more really tiny one just for the heck of it. Okay, and then that's really all there is to it. They're way too bright, so that's the only thing. So on my layer menu, I'll click the O on this layer and I'll drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe like 60 to 70%, somewhere in there. Okay, but that looks great. Let's add just some small details to our yellow area here like we did with our door, these like monoline lines. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer right above our yellow layer. Let's grab our 2nd color on the last row, switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab at 10%. And let's first just go around the whole thing. So I'm just going to start maybe in this top left corner, just kind of right in between the top left corner of my yellow piece and my window. So right in there, go straight across, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal, and same thing, just kind of right in between those 2 corners on the other side, like so. Then from each side, we'll go straight up and down, so all the way to the bottom. So from right here, I'll go down, all the way to the bottom, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Same thing on the left side, all the way down, touch your finger to the screen. Then we'll go right underneath our window horizontally. So connect it there horizontally, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen. Then in this other open space, we'll make another rectangle like we did on our door. So I'll just start in a little ways from the corner. I'll go across, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, kind of, again, same distance from the other side. Go down, not all the way to the bottom, touch your finger to the screen, go across the bottom, touch your finger to the screen, and line up with our other one vertically, touch your finger to the screen. Awesome. So just add some fun detail to it. And that is it for our bookcase. So now we're going to snap this all together and then duplicate it for the other side. So as long as you like the way it all looks, let's go to our layer menu and snap these all together. So from the top, like window streaks all the way down to our yellow base layer. Let's do that. Looks great. Go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of it. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Arrow tool. So we'll just move it on over here, keeping it in line, lined up at the top with our door and everything, and then spaced again pretty evenly with our other one. So I might move it a little closer to my door, and then I might move my other one a little closer to my door also. So we want them spaced evenly from our door, but I kind of wanted them a little closer. So that's just totally up to you, whatever you think looks good. But then I can see a little bit more of my bricks on the sides. So I think that looks great. Next up, to finish off this bottom area, is just our sign that says Bookshop, and then we'll do all the rest of it. Not much else left. We'll do clouds, trees, bushes. We are getting there. Let's go ahead and make our sign. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer above the layers that we have here, like our yellow ones. Let's click on this layer and turn on Drawing Assist. We are going to switch though to Symmetry, but we do want this layer to be assisted, so that's on. Under our gear icon, under Canvas, click to edit the drawing guide. Set it to Symmetry, and then under Options, select Quadrant. And then let's just go ahead and move this down a little. So using this blue dot, I'm just going to move it straight down to where we're just kind of right above the door. We'll center it and stuff anyway, so like it's fine if it gets a little off center, but just roughly in this area is good. Go ahead and click Done. Again, our layer is assisted. And the color that we're going to use for this is going to be the 6th color on the second row. Grab our monoline brush still under the calligraphy tab at 10%. And we are going to make a kind of rounded corner sign. So I'm going to go way over here, right above my bookshelf. So I'm a little bit down from my horizontal symmetry line. So I'm just going to make a little circle, hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set a good size. Again, we can move it around and stuff, but this is good for now. I'm going to connect it on the sides and the top and bottom. So on the right side here, I'll go from one circle on the far right side to the center, hold it down, touch my finger on the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And then same thing, I'll go across the top, right at the top of this circle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. And click this line button if you need to move it around at all. Make sure it lines up real nice with your circle on the sides. But that should look good. Fill in the middle, fill in the circles. Okay, mine got a little too big, so I'm just going to grab it with my arrow tool, maybe even on uniform, and downsize it a little bit, and then center it over our door, or, wherever you get a decent centering. I might switch it to freeform and make it a little skinnier from top to bottom. That's fine too. And we're above our shadow, we should be. Yeah, we're above our shadow layer. So your thing shouldn't be in shadow here. It's okay for it to be over the shadow because it's going to be like sticking off of our building. So right there, it looks good for my sign. Now we'll add the text to it. So gear icon. Under add, click add text. Okay, it's already selected, and pop up your keyboard and then in all caps. So double tap the arrow, type a book shop, or you can put like, Christie's bookstore or whatever you want to put. A funny name, like whatever you think works. Okay, double tap it to select it again, and then, or if you have multiple words, you'll have to triple tap it to select it all. Once it's selected, click our color selector here, and let's select our second reddish color, so the second one on the second row. Okay, again, with it selected, let's tap our font button here to bring up our font menu. And the font that we're going to select is the Courier New font, and we're going to bold it. And then if you want, my size is at like 27. I'll leave that for now. We can resize it when you place it on our sign, but I am going to increase the tracking a little bit to maybe almost 10%. Then I'll grab it with my arrow tool, move it down here, resize it on uniform if you need to, and kind of center it there on our sign, like so. Then I want to add just a tiny little dot to each side. So I'm just going to add a new layer, click on the layer and turn on Drawing Assist. So we're done with quadrant symmetry. We're going to just switch the symmetry type. So under the gear icon under Canvas, just edit the drawing guide and switch our symmetry option here to vertical. And then click this button in the middle and click Reset. So it's just perfectly in the center, and then click Done. Okay, so now with this second color on the second row, on our new layer that's got Drawing Assist turned on and our monoline brush at 100%, we're just going to tap on the right here to kind of fill this in with a dot. You can lower the size a little bit if you want to, maybe 80% or so, and just kind of get a good placement there. Awesome. That is it for our words. Now let's add a little bit of shadow to it is all. So on our layer menu, let's sync this layer with our Bookshop text layer. So snap those together. It'll rasterize the text so you can't edit the text anymore. It's just like an image layer, but that's okay. We're done with that. So slide to the left on this and hit duplicate, grab the bottom one. Click on it and turn on alpha lock. Grab the fourth color on the second row. Back to our layer menu, click on this layer and click fill layer. This will be our shadow layer again. Click on it again, turn off alpha lock, and click the N on this layer and drag it up to multiply. Arrow tool. Move it down and to the right a little bit. Nothing too crazy, and we won't do our connecting this time. We're so far away, it's so small, I just don't feel like it's necessary. We are going to blur it a little bit, so I just have it down a tiny bit, down and to the right. We'll click our wand icon, Gaussian blur, and again, just the teeniest little bit of blur, like 1 to 2%, nothing crazy, to get a little shadow there. Awesome. We're going to do the same thing now with our sign. So on our layer menu, grab our white sign layer, slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab the back one. We can just drag and drop this one to fill it in. Back to our layer menu, click the N on this layer and drag it up to multiply. Grab it with our arrow tool, down and to the right a little bit. And again, we won't connect it or anything, just down and to the right. And then wand icon, Gaussian blur, and we'll blur it a little bit. Again, 2 to 3% maybe, just to make it kind of pop there a little bit more, like so. Okay, and then believe it or not, that is it for our whole building. So that is all we're going to do there. Now we can do the rest of the background stuff. So let's start with our bushes, and then we'll do our trees and our clouds. So on our layer menu, again, if you need to save more layers, you can snap your top 3 sign layers together. So the word, the shadow for the word, and the white layer, you can snap those all together. You can't snap it with this back one because it's on multiply, and so then it just disappears. So we don't want that. So you have to leave your multiply one out, but the rest can be snapped together. Okay, but for our bushes, let's find layer 1 and add a layer right above that, right underneath everything, just above our background layer. Grab our first green color, the 8th one on the top row, and the brush that we're going to use for this is going to be the hard brush under the airbrushing category. We'll set that to like 20%, and essentially we get these kind of circles. So when you start touching, it starts faded, but if you push pretty hard, you get a good circle going. So that's kind of what we're going to do for our bushes. So I'm going to start on the edge, and I'm just going to make kind of a circle, push pretty hard the whole time, and just kind of make some little kind of bushy shapes, like so. I'll go to the other side and kind of do the same thing, like so. Okay, we want kind of a shadow on it, so same layer, we're just going to switch our color to this darker one now, 9th one on the top row. Same brush and everything, I'm just going to start lower right by my sidewalk and kind of push up from there. Again, just kind of in circular, motions or whatever, pushing pretty hard just to get some more definition. It's kind of a shadow or maybe a second layer of bushes, don't really know, but that looks great. Okay, now let's do our tree. So on our layer menu, let's add another new layer above this one. And let's start with our green color again. So the lighter one, the eighth one on the top row. Same brush, let's increase the size a bit to like 30%. And I'm just gonna push really hard, hold down, and just keep pushing, kind of working the slightest little motion to get a nice good circle there. Okay, that's gonna be our first tree piece. So on our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. Grab our darker green, the ninth one on the top row, and our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Set to whatever is good. We'll do 50%. I'm going to start on like the right side about halfway up, and I'm going to make a curve across the bottom like so. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. So something kind of like this. Click Edit Arc if you need to and kind of adjust it, but I just want to kind of get a curve across this bottom right side, and then I'll fill in next to it. If it overfills like this, hold your pen on the screen when you're filling and then slide to the left and it'll only fill in that bottom area. Okay, so that's the start of our tree. So now on our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this layer. So slide to left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one, grab it with your arrow tool on uniform, downsize it a little bit, and I'm going to place it like down into the right here, like so. Layer menu, make another duplicate of the smaller one that we just had. Grab the bottom one again, arrow tool, and I'm going to move it like over to the left kind of. Maybe up a little higher. It doesn't have to be like perfectly in line. So we just kind of get our three little balls like so. Okay, and now we're going to draw our trunk, and we actually want our trunk behind our bushes. So let's add a new layer behind our bushes for the trunk. Let's grab our brown color, the seventh one on the top row. Same monoline brush, but let's increase our size to 100%. And I'm just going to start kind of roughly in the center of like this bigger circle, and I'm going to make a vertical line, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. And I want it to be just a slightly thicker, so I'm going to just make another one right next to it, hold it down, touch my finger to the screen, just to kind of thicken it up. Okay, then we need some slight branches to go to our other sections, so I'm going to lower my brush size a little bit to 50%. Stay on the same layer, same color. From this one here, I'm just going to make a kind of line towards my middle one, hold that down until it snaps nice and straight, and then I want it thicker at the bottom, so I'm going to start roughly at that same point and just draw another line to the base, hold it down, and just like have it hit lower. Fill in anything in the middle just to kind of thicken it up. Same thing here, maybe I'll start a little higher, hold that down, do one right next to it to thicken it up at the base. Okay, so then that's our tree. So now on our layer menu, let's just snap those layers together. So we first need to move our bush layer above our circles. Boom. So now our circles and our tree trunk we can snap together. And now if you need to move it around, you can do so. So with your arrow tool, it's all together. So you can move it around, you can replace it, whatever. But I'm going to say the top of my tree, the top of my tree is like a little over halfway up my building. Really, really tall trees here. Okay, now we need another one for the other side. So on our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of this layer. Either one is fine. Grab it with your arrow tool and move it on over. I might just make it a little bit lower is all. So kind of same placement. I don't flip it because I want my shadows still on the right side. But maybe I'll make it like a little teeny bit lower or something so it looks a little bit different, but nothing too crazy. While we're here, let's go ahead and add our clouds because that's going to be kind of a similar process. So on our layer menu, again, back to our layer 1, add a new layer right above it. And grab our cloud color, the bright white color, 6th one on the top row. And switch back to our hard brush under the airbrushing category, set to like 20%. And we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did for our bushes. So I'm just going to start somewhere, start pushing pretty hard, and then just kind of start working around to just get some kind of little cloud shapes. So something like that there. I'll start here, do another one. Just kind of pushing pretty hard, something like that. Maybe I'll have one coming off the right side here, kind of a little lower. And then maybe one just kind of, again, off the left side here a little lower. Again, not identical, like not symmetrical, but just kind of similar. So something like that is good for our clouds. Okay, and then lastly, we are going to add one layer of texture to the very top of it. Again, if you wish, it looks good flat, but I like a little texture sometimes. So on our layer menu at the very, very top, add a new layer. Click the N on this layer, and we are going to set this actually to linear burn. grab our fourth color on the top row of the color palette that's kind of light gray. And then the brush that we're going to use is going to be the 6B Compressed Charcoals brush under the Charcoals category, set to 100%. And I'm just going to very lightly just kind of start and add this all throughout, just kind of working my way down without picking my brush up, very, very lightly. And then we can still lower the opacity of it too, but I just want to get one good layer. If you keep going over it though, even without picking your brush up, it will just kind of fill the whole thing in and then we'll lose the texture. So don't necessarily do that, but a good layer of this, and then on our layer menu, if you wish to, you can click the LB and then lower the opacity a little to like 50 to 60 to 70%, kind of whatever you like. I like some good texture. I might leave it at like 80 or so. I think that looks good. It also kind of brightens up our colors a little bit. So that is our final step. So once that is done, that is it for our drawing today. So I hope that you had fun. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out. I hope that you maybe learned something new. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up so that the algorithm knows that you liked it. So it maybe shows it to more people interested in Procreate tutorials like this one, and they can watch it and draw along also. And make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any future tutorials from me. And then if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.